Welcome to the Selling Show, where we unpack, repack, and break down exactly how CEOs, founders, and senior executives sell their ideas, point of view, and personal brand to the people who matter most. This is your host, David Newman, and you are in the right place if you want to build market eminence, amplify your influence, and attract high-value prospects, investors, partners, talent, and media opportunities with less chasing and more confidence. Let's go. You know, my friends, a future-ready mindset starts right here, right now, on this show, because I have a very special treat for you. Deb Reuben, author of Enter the TomorrowZone, is here. Deb, welcome to the show.
Thanks, David. I'm really excited to be here with you today.
So you have a fantastic, amazing background. You've been on the show before. In case people did not hear the first episode where we had you on, we're going to link to that in the show notes as well, just for reference. But refresh us on your professional journey that brought you to the work that you're doing today, and then we'll use that as the springboard for our chat.
Okay, awesome. So I have a background in both finance and software, and I've worked inside of organizations and as an advisor, often between business and technology. I got my start as an application developer, but I spent a lot of time really being a student of the business that I was in. And so most of my career has been focused on commercial equipment finance. It's an exciting trillion-dollar industry that makes business go in the United States. So a lot of my clients are the companies that finance or lease capital equipment, anything from iPads to airplanes and everything in between. So a lot of variety, a lot of different types of businesses and challenges to solve in that industry. And so in my adventures in digital transformation, one of the things that I noticed is I kept seeing the same patterns repeat, where smart people with big budgets were rushing decisions and often leading to, traumatic failures. I've seen both failures and successes. Often what fails isn't the effort, it's the judgment quality under uncertainty. And so today in my work with TomorrowZone, we help teams navigate complexity and shape the future without burning out their people or their budgets.
Nice. Wow. I think there's a statistic out there, and if you know the more accurate number, please help me out here. Something like between 70 and 80% of change initiatives, big change management projects, end up failing, meaning that they either the change gets screwed up, right? Software implementation, right? Stuff breaks, it goes way over budget, it goes way over time, or just that the business outcomes that the change was designed to create never end up coming out the other end. So with a 70 to 80% failure rate, you said something really profound. It's rarely about the technology.
Yeah.
Right? The technology is not what's failing 70 to 80% of the time. So what is it?
I actually dove into that research because I kept hearing these numbers. It's 70% of digital transformations are failing to deliver their intended outcomes.
Yes.
And when I dug deeper into that, the research was showing that more often than not, those failures were attributed to starting before you were truly ready. And I think that the big myth is a lot of times leaders think that ready means you signed on the dotted line with a software vendor.
Right.
That has absolutely nothing to do with the most key component of any digital transformation initiative, and that's the readiness of the humans to be able to go through the messy middle that's inevitable in every transformational initiative because it's high uncertainty. And when people are not ready for that, that's when all of the things that contribute to those failed results show up, And so I think a lot of it comes down to readiness, and readiness is multifaceted. It's not just we've selected our software vendor.
What else is involved? What else should they be looking at that they're either not thinking is relevant or they think it's important, but it'll take care of itself?
Well, I think that, there's some big challenges along the way that I think that people are not paying attention to. And it's really about your beliefs, believing that speed is the most important thing. We got to get this done, and driving toward a date rather than driving toward the outcomes that you're all trying to achieve, and making sure that your team has a shared understanding of what you're trying to achieve and why. I was thinking about this. I'm like, what's a metaphor that would fit this? And, it's like, if you want your team to go and dig a hole, a lot of teams are going to start with the shovels. I'm gonna step back and say, okay, yeah, y'all have shovels and that's great, but where are you digging and why and how deep? Are you digging so that you can build a skyscraper or an outhouse? I mean, there's very different, different things that you're going to need to do depending on where you want to go. And I think that one of the biggest failures is developing shared understanding of why we're going on this journey in the first place.
Yes.
And making sure that everybody that's going to be involved understands that. And that's not a one-time occurrence.
Yes.
It's something that you have to sustain actively. And I think that's one of the biggest gaps. It's never only about tech.
So you have this fantastic new book called Enter the Tomorrow Zone. And I'm curious, in the book, which sort of outlines both the problems and the methodology and training and discipline that you bring to the people side of digital transformation, the book is sort of a guide and a roadmap and really a treasure chest of wisdom for leaders that are leading this kind of change. What kind of mistakes or misjudgments or oversights were you seeing that the book, now finally at great long last, is putting into leaders' hands, saying, here's how to do it right from the beginning, here's how not to suffer the screw-ups and the setbacks along the way?
Well, there's a lot in there, but this is
Let's read the whole book to us.
Yeah.
Start on page 1 and let's go from there.
I mean, really, like one of the first things that I talk about is what's, as you would say, funky, broken, and sad about digital transformation. And there's 3 major challenges that I see repeated over and over again that are causing these things to fail or go off the rails. And it's not because your people are bad. It's not because your technology is bad or your technology implementer is bad. It's because we don't have shared understanding across that whole team. And often it's because we have a tech-first mindset. And so we need to get back to business vision and make sure that it's a shared understanding of the business vision. And, that vision is one of the first things I see people lose right after they kick off. I've observed that over and over again. The more you add people to the team along the way and you don't back up and onboard them into the vision, it's going to be lost. And that just leads to chaos down the road. But the other thing that I think is often skipped is imagination of future possibilities. Often we're narrowing our options way too soon, and that gets teams stuck in yesterday thinking.
Yeah.
If they don't understand the why behind the thing in the first place, then when they need to make decisions along the way, their judgment is impaired. And that's where you run into the challenge and the risk of copying yesterday and pasting it onto new cool technology. And we don't want to rebuild the past. Often the way that we did things before isn't relevant anymore. Not for where things are going. And so getting stuck in yesterday thinking is like a really big trap. And then the other thing is, making sure that the team really is connected to that overarching vision. And I talk about this a lot because it is one of the biggest things that people are missing. And so you need to have strategies in place to keep people connected to that overarching vision and have guiding principles in place that actually guide that judgment as you're going through the uncertainty so that you're making good decisions and you don't end up with the overcomplicated, customized beyond recognition technology implementation. And so there's so much on the people side that I think gets ignored. And I'm not a change management, expert. I'm not an HR person. My background is tech, but the human system that is a part of these transformational initiatives is often unaddressed.
Oh my goodness, what a great interview this is. Hey, you like great things? Have you grabbed a copy of my new book and all the companion tools, trainings, and bonuses at marketeminence.com? Pop over there right now, grab it. It's almost as great as this episode. I love what you just said about yesterday thinking. Obviously, if we're entering the tomorrow zone, as the book encourages us to do, and as you help your clients, you Sherpa them, you guide them into the tomorrow zone. You did something really smart as far as the market eminence methodology, which is you named an enemy, and the enemy is the yesterday zone.
Yeah.
And the old thinking and the limited thinking and the lack of imagination. So I'm curious, this possibility thinking, because imagination plays such a central role in your work, and leaders often, they have the big vision, they have a lot of imagination at the beginning of a project, right? And as the thing starts to go, hey, we're in month 3, we're in month 6, we're in month 8, there's this sense of, we got to make the donuts, right? We still have to take care of what's on our desk today. We still have to have that big meeting. We still have that new product kickoff, and we start to contract, right? The imagination, the vision, the 10-year, 50-year vision starts to become, oh my God, we have a big, investor call next week and the CEO's not ready. How do you keep the vision and the imaginations going on that big picture, 5,000 foot top of the mountain plane without letting some of the key executives slip into either today, the today zone, which is the urgency, or God forbid, the yesterday zone of, trying to turn the clock back?
This is a big challenge because this is real. We do have to deal with the fires of today.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I discovered in my own research is, just the way our brains work. I'm like, how come this is so hard for people? But what I found was that our brains can't actually be in firefighting mode and expansive future imagination mode at the same time.
Yeah.
And so what I have found that really helps, and this may seem like a super obvious thing or an easy thing, but you have to actually intentionally designate time for that expansive thinking.
Yeah.
And it takes intention. And so one of the things that we do, first of all, we need to help people stay connected to that big overarching vision. It's really hard to be on the same page if you can't see the same page. And so one of the things we talk about a lot is let's go visual as fast as possible. And how do you help people be a part of creating that big picture and then referring back to that big picture over and over and over again? I think of it often like the flight tracker. So whenever I'm flying, I was always the kid in the back seat saying, are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet? And so, when I'm flying, I always watch, my favorite show is the flight tracker, and it shows me where I am in relation to where I'm going.
Yes.
But when people are going through these big transformational initiatives, it's often opaque. They can't see where they are on the way to where they're going, and progress becomes invisible. And so one of the ways that you can help keep that big picture in front of people is to actually have some way of showing progress in relationship toward the goal. But then, you ask, where does imagination come into it? So I think a lot of people think, and this is a myth, that, we want to be imaginative up front. And then we're going to capture all the requirements, and then we're going to build the thing, and everything's going to be awesome. But, the truth is that the journey is rarely linear, and you're always going to be making discoveries along the way. And so part of imagination is being open to discovery and being open to a discovery-driven approach, because there are things that you simply can't know along the way until other things happen. You just can't. And I picked up this language from a little kid, actually. My very first technology job, one of my colleagues, he had a son, and he was 4 years old at the time. And so he used to always come in and tell stories about the funny things that his kid would say. And he went through this phase of saying, "Dad, I can't know that." And, it was really funny at the time, but I keep going back to that because it's so real as we're going through an innovation or a transformation initiative. There are so many things that we just have to get okay with not knowing until we can know. And that connects to imagination and being open to discovering new things, discovering new ways to do things. Imagination is going to come in wherever we're challenging our comfort zone of how we've always done things.
Yeah.
Because if you're going to be investing time and money and energy into doing these things, let's actually shape the future that we want to see rather than, getting stuck and rebuilding the past.
I want to talk about innovation, because innovation is one of these kind of buzzwords that every leader, every CEO talks about: innovation, innovative products, innovative solutions, innovating the future. I think it must be out of the Fortune 500, the word innovation is probably in 500 out of 500 of the annual reports and the letters from the CEOs. So you would think, man, every company in America is so committed to innovation. And almost every company in America still struggles with making progress.
Yeah.
So from your experience, what are they missing when they broadcast, "We're committed to innovation," but you look at the actual tangible progress of the company and it seems like they're stuck in molasses?
Well, so many things. First of all, when I think of innovation, I think of, innovation is all about creating solutions to make the world a better place for humans. We're doing something to improve the human experience. It could be software related, it could be process policy, but we're making a change that's going to improve the human experience. So if it doesn't do that, what's the point? But it's on a spectrum too, and so we can be doing that in a lot of different ways, anywhere from, improving our day-to-day. And so this is what companies are trying to do with AI. Like, what are some, narrow, small tasks that we could automate that would improve the experience of our people day to day? That's kind of small I innovation. Big I innovation is like changing an industry, changing a whole business model, creating a new category, and then anything in between. And so it's a big concept.
Yeah.
But I think where we mess up is, I've had leaders say to me, Deb, we tell our people, go be innovative. And then they come back to us with their ideas and it's the same old thing. And it comes back to, are we actually creating space for it? And have we actually empowered our people to be able to do this? If you think about the business world, what are the incentives? At least in the finance world, and this is probably true elsewhere, often we're incented to know the right answer, not challenge. And so people aren't used to operating in a mode where they're challenging status quo.
Yeah.
And often you don't have the conditions or environment that makes it safe to do that. And this isn't like a big woo-woo thing, but if your people are not able to speak up and openly challenge the way things have always been done, you're not going to create a new way of doing things. You're just not. And so innovation is often treated as an event. Let's do a hackathon, and then nothing happens. Or we're going to get all our people together and let's brainstorm, and then nothing happens because you're treating it as an event, not a repeatable habit or capability. And I think that's one of the first challenges, and then back to the tech first thinking. If you're skipping diagnosis of real problems that are valuable to solve, and you're just like, hey, we got this new software, sprinkle AI on top is the latest version of this.
Oh yeah.
Then you're not going to be innovating because you're treating symptoms rather than root causes, and you're actually not going to create a good change. So
yes.
I could go on, but those are some of the top of mind.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And in the book, Enter the Tomorrow Zone, you talk about this concept of innovation is not just an idea. It is a habit and practice. It's a habit and a practice. So people are constantly, they're having meetings, they're having discussions, they're talking, they're thinking, they're strategizing with this innovation lens. I'm curious, what does that actually look like? What kinds of questions are we asking ourselves? What kinds of habits are we developing?
There's a lot of them. So often this can come down to just tweaking the types of questions that you're asking. It's amazing how powerful just asking the right question can be.
Yeah.
To unlock innovative possibilities in a team. First of all, just recognizing the importance of thought diversity. A lot of the work that we do at TomorrowZone is working with cross-functional teams to get shared understanding of the current state of things so that we understand together not only the future that we want to build, but what today looks like. Yeah. We're all starting from the same starting line. We know what the end game is. We may not know the middle, but we can figure that out together if we're starting in a strong place where we have that shared understanding. And so thought diversity is key because when we look at a problem, we need to look at it from all different angles. And I used to imagine, the way that I was doing this with customers early on is kind of almost like a drone flying around the problems and looking at them from all different angles. But when we're working with a cross-functional team, each person is going to have a different imagination of what success looks like.
Oh, yes.
If you launch something without exploring what all those different definitions of success are, you are in a really dangerous space.
Yeah.
Because your foundation is nothing but unchallenged assumptions. And so imagine, you keep moving that way, and now you're working with a team. They've been told they have to run this race. Nobody knows exactly where the starting line is. Nobody knows exactly where the finish line is. Oh, and along the way, they find out this is a marathon that they're being told they have to run at a sprint pace, and it's not a flat terrain. It's actually a parkour course. That's what digital transformation feels like when you launch into it without this shared understanding from the start. And so, if your team is already launched and they're running, chaotically, you can stop and you can reset. Yeah. Ideally, you do this before you even kick off. And so I think that one of the big misconceptions is that you set up a project plan and you kick off and it's just a straight line to the finish. But, those plans never survive impact with reality.
Yes, the old Mike Tyson quote.
Yeah.
Everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face. You got it.
Yes.
So I also want to brag on you a little bit because I've seen you work. I've seen a little bit of how the sausage is made, and it's super premium, by the way, super premium gourmet level sausage.
Innovation, bacon, sausage.
Innovation, exactly right. Exactly right. But you have a way of building this shared understanding with all kinds of diversity of thought, different groups, different departments, different levels. You have these incredibly powerful virtual meetings using the digital whiteboard software. And after a half day or a full day meeting, tell me what the executives say at the end of this when you have extracted through your facilitation all the different stakeholders, all the different imagination pieces, all the different problems, obstacles, fears, concerns, hopes, dreams, objectives, outcomes. Literally, am I right that there's going to be hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of ideas on the board, and that you have organized, prioritized, and synthesized those in a very short period of time? Explain a little bit about the magic of that process that you have to get the shared buy-in at the start of all of your work.
So this comes down to designing a facilitated experience that is meant to pull the best thoughts out of your people. I find that a lot of times great ideas and solutions are locked in the heads of people that just haven't been drawn into the conversation.
Yeah.
And so we've designed a method, we call it the Catalyst Sprint, and it catalyzes shared understanding and empowered collaboration. And so I used to do this on whiteboards and ballroom walls and, and boardroom windows and anywhere we could find a surface to throw sticky notes. But it has evolved into a completely virtual experience, which is actually so much easier for cross-functional leadership teams to participate in, because we don't have to get everyone to travel, disrupt their day. We do it on a cadence of work sessions. And through this experience, what typically happens is we have a cross-functional leadership team that is exploring and talking about and understanding their business in a way that they never have before, because we're co-creating and we're building that big picture of the company's current state and future vision together. Yeah. And what happens along the way as we're having the discussions that are often really hard to have, if it's not politically safe to challenge, I'm coming in from the outside and enabling those challenging conversations in a whole new way. And so people start to not only feel heard, but we're getting people to contribute because we're creating an interaction in a whole new way where even the quiet people are participating and no one checks out. No one checks out in our meetings. And what I've heard from executives by the end of it, and by the end of it, we have collaborated and we have co-created what the roadmap is going to look like. And it's hard to resist a plan that you're part of creating. And so by the end of it, what we hear from executives, people are so excited to be a part of shaping the future. They don't even have to go through the gymnastics and performance of trying to get buy-in, because we've already built it organically, and their team is ready to collaborate in a whole different way. And so in one of the most recent engagements that we did, we were looking at an enterprise level of a company and what they needed to do for their technology strategy and roadmap to improve customer experience across 2 different countries. And so we had a pretty wide variety of people that we were working with. And their executive told me, our people are collaborating better than ever, because what happens is we're actually not only taking them through this process, but we're modeling a different way to work together, a different way to ask questions, and a different way to have conversations. Some of my clients call it the Mr. Miyagi method, if you remember the Karate Kid movie.
Sure.
You know, and he's having the guy do all these different chores and stuff, but in the end he's like, okay, show me wax on, show me wax off, and suddenly he knows karate. And that's what's happening with people by the end of this. That's not what we're selling, but that's one of the byproducts, is that your people are not only clear on what we need to do and why we need to do it, they understand what is most important because they're creating the priorities together.
Yes.
And they're challenging each other on the way things have always been done. Now we're creating for where the world is going, not where we've always been. So now you have a team that's actually ready to take on and shape the future in a new way. And It's not just about the technology or using digital whiteboards. That's just an enabler of a completely new type of interaction that gets a team ready to take it on.
Wait. We're not just going to listen to this episode. There are downloads, there are resources, there are links, there are bonuses waiting for you on this episode's page when you go over to doitmarketing.com/podcast. That's right, doitmarketing.com/podcast. Grab the notes right under this episode. See you over there.
You do such a great job. The book almost, it feels like an adventure, right? Because first we have, inciting incident, right? Here's the conflict. Here's the problem. Here's the challenge. Here's the headaches, heartaches, challenges, and gaps. Here's the better way. Here's the path. The mentor has appeared. You're in the role of Yoda in this case. So Yoda has appeared and said, no, young Jedi, you're doing this the wrong way. And how to channel your energy and focus and imagination and leverage the team and leverage the diversity of thoughts and opinions and experiences and expertise that are hiding within your team. And then going all the way through the messy middle, the hills and valleys of despair, and then coming out the other end feeling super energized, super successful. And not only has the technology implementation been successful, it's almost like a byproduct, but now the folks that are from the C-suite all the way on down, they are now feeling tangibly closer to that bigger, better, bolder future. Would you say that this is also, because obviously the internal benefits of this are countless, and we've already talked about those.
Yeah.
Tell me about the market eminence or the industry leadership, or how these companies rise to the top of their industry by getting a jump start on their internal innovation process.
Well, this goes back to looking at innovation not as an event, but as a habit. And the reason why that's important is because this isn't about a project. This is about building a capability within your company to be able to take on the real world that we live in. I'm part of an innovation group that it has people from all different industries, change makers, people that are not only transforming companies, but they're attacking transformation at an industry level. And one of the ways that we've been talking about it is VUCA Max. And so you may have heard the term VUCA. We've been hearing that for a long time. That's all about, volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. And we're living in that world right now. Change is accelerating and it's, coming at us from all directions. But Max is, now it's even faster. Like things are really being accelerated with the accessibility to all of these AI tools. And so now it's massive, it's accelerating, and it's exponential. I mean, change is happening so fast. Like, what's the half-life of what you know about AI right now? I don't know, a week and a half? So that's the world that we're living in. And so this isn't about just your ability to get through a software implementation. Software is just an enabler.
That's the byproduct.
Yeah. I mean, and it's just a tiny piece of it.
Right.
Are you enabling your company? Are you building a capability for your company to continually navigate the challenges that are constantly coming your way as the world is changing so that you can build the customer experience for the customer of tomorrow? As we say, hockey people talk about skating to where the puck is going,
right.
and we need to be doing that in business. But if you are not building this capability to be able to navigate uncertainty, to be able to have good judgment, quality under uncertainty, you're not preparing your company for the world that is growing up around us so fast. And, innovation is about being able to continually, make those changes and upgrades that are going to improve the human experience, whether that's your customer, your partners, your employee experience, your products. It all comes together. And so this is not just about what you do. This is about how you think.
How you think, and then who you become.
Yeah.
Right? Those capabilities and competencies being baked into your DNA, so that no matter what the world throws at you, you feel ready and confident and optimistic that you can handle it. You can not just handle it, but you can take advantage of it. You can lead the charge instead of being battered and buffeted by all the VUCA max factors that you just mentioned.
Right. And, it's scalable. These mindsets are scalable because, as a leader, it starts with you. But there's a ripple effect to your team, to your company, and then even out to the industry.
Absolutely. So good. So good. So people are going to buy the book, and we're going to tell them where to get the book here in a moment. But after reading Enter the Tomorrow Zone, what do you most hope that leaders are going to see or do differently? Just to kind of summarize our whole conversation.
The biggest thing that I would hope for leaders reading my book is that they are willing to step back and get clarity before adding technology. Just that one thing will make a huge difference. And I would hope that they feel seen and understood, and that they're not alone. Like, you are not broken if you're having problems with digital transformation. You're so not alone. Unfortunately, these patterns are repeating all over the place. And there's hope. There is a way that you can approach it differently and get a whole different result.
Love that. And I'm going to give you a shameless plug. The folks listening, if you're in this situation, you identify with what Deb just shared, you don't need to do this alone. And don't wait to screw it up. Call Deb Reuben first. Call Deb Reuben first. By the way, that's your second book. So after people read Enter the Tomorrow Zone, the follow-up book is going to be Call Deb Reuben first.
I'm sure the TomorrowZone team would appreciate that.
what can we leave people with? What links should go in the show notes? How do they get connected and stay connected to more Enter the Tomorrow Zone and Deb Reuben brilliance?
TomorrowZone.io is our website.
Great.
And to find out more about the book, you can go to enterthetomorrowzone.com. And we've got a workbook that you can download to actually get a taste of Enter the Tomorrow Zone. And it will walk you through some new ways of thinking about an initiative. So that's what I would offer. Enterthetomorrowzone.com. And I believe by the time this comes out, my book is going to be ready on Amazon for purchase. So you can also go to Amazon and find it.
Into the future.
Yes.
Recording
We're in the
this
Zone right
episode in the future. And it's going to be out there. It's going to be amazing. Well, Deb Reuben, you are such a rock star. I have admired your work for years and years, and I just cannot wait to see what new wonderfulness you come up with next. Thank you so much for being on with us.
Thank you so much for having me. And shameless plug for you. Every time I apply the wisdom that you share, I get amazing results. So call David first too.
There you go. Call us both. Call us both. We'll have coffee, the three of us. It'll be great.
Absolutely.
And that wraps up another episode of The Selling Show. Hey, tell you what, if you like us, rate us and review us on Apple Podcasts, subscribe, tell a friend, go grab the notes and downloads and extras at thesellingshow.com. See you next time.